You know this week is crazy when Keith Lee, one of the most positive and nicest people, was in some drama with an entire city, bruh. So if you don't know Keith Lee already, he's on TikTok and he's a food reviewer to say the least. He goes around different states, tries the food, and then gives his review on it. And you would think that Keith Lee would not have any drama about this, but you're gonna learn very quickly that that was not the case, especially in ATL. And this is just me from the outside looking in. I didn't see anything wrong, maybe because I wasn't all the way in the mix, but after I did some research, I see kind of what the problem is, and it brings up a lot bigger issues than just the reviews that Keith left. And the opinions on this have been everywhere, either defending Keith Lee to the point we seeing people send death threats to these restaurants, or people trying to dog Keith Lee. I don't really get it because it's really not that deep either. And if you couldn't tell already, I'm not from Atlanta. I can't defend ATL because I'm not a resident of there. But I have been down to ATL to get some food though. And what Keith dealt with and what I dealt with is two different things, but me and Keith ain't the same person. When I went down there, I ain't had no problems. I probably had some of the greatest food I've ever had in my life. Especially, I wish I remembered this spot. But it was this spot that had some of the greatest chicken and waffles and grits I've ever had in my life. I don't know where they got that from. They need to keep doing that. I hope they still open. There wasn't really no bougie treatment. There wasn't like really long waits. And I got my food and I ate. And to go back on to Keith Lee, he is an influencer whether he wants to be portrayed as that or not. People know who he is on the internet. People know who he is on TikTok. So when they know that he's in the city, they gonna try to cook up whatever they can because they want to have the best reviews. That looks good for a restaurant. And Keith even says this in all his food review videos. He doesn't want to be looked at as an influencer. Just treat him like the normal person that you just served. He's no different because people are people. They're going to show him preferential treatment whether they wanted to or not. But this time Keith didn't want that, and he refused to eat there. And I think the funny part about this is that if you looked at every single TikTok that he made while he was down in ATL, the comments are all like, ATL better be on watch, ATL better be on the lookout because Keith Lee down there. It's like, bro, just be normal. There's no reason to treat this guy like Jesus. But that brings up a whole situation trying to figure out what's an actual restaurant and what's a restaurant that's just trying to look good on social media. But if it's one thing that Keith Lee did, he didn't shook up everything down in ATL, at least the social media portion, to where every single person now has a strong stance on if their real restaurants are real or were they just trying to look good for the TikTok. And there's a new term that I just learned, but I know what it's kind of grounded upon. It's called Flulanta and Grulanta. For all the Atlanta homies that may be watching this, I don't know if that's used as often, but I'm gonna just play with the idea. So Flulanta is the idea that tourists or you just recently moved to Atlanta, and Grulanta is in the name, you grew up in Atlanta. And talking about where I got these terms from, it was this tweet that said there are two sides to Atlanta, Flulanta and Grulanta. But in my personal opinion, especially after eating at ATL, I do think it is kind of weird that people are trying to dress up what they had, because I think ATL has a great culture of just eating. They got great food, great people serving the food. You know what I'm saying? You can't really go wrong with that. And social media make people act out of pocket to where they don't even look like they the same character that they've built up for the past 10, 15 years. And the funniest one is he was probably getting requests to go down to Atlanta and he probably had a good ass list. But I know there was restaurants he didn't touch and I'm like, you slept. Because I know some bangers down in Atlanta. I'm going to gain 20 pounds at them restaurants. And I'm gatekeeping. Y'all ain't gonna know about what I know. I know I'm repeating myself, but Keith Lee is literally showing how social media is turning these established restaurants into a hollow shell of themselves just for likes on social media. And a lot of these restaurants and businesses in general are more focused on the public image they have as opposed to the output of what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. Like, think about it. If you can fry some chicken, I would rather you fry the damn chicken the best way you know than to show me a TikTok of you frying the chicken. Because me as a video editor, I can dress some shit up. I can make shit look nice. You, on the other hand, if you can't fry chicken and I get salmonella from your ass, we're fighting and I'm giving you a lawsuit. And I watched all these ATL TikToks from Keith Lee, aside from the ones that were the most dramatic. And even the restaurant owners in there were just normal acting people. They didn't ask him for nothing. They didn't treat him as such. And they gave him good service without even knowing it was him to begin with. But it almost seems like whenever there's an influencer, there's the pressure that you have to cater to them. And seeing them cave like this for Keith makes you ask, is everybody that's a food influencer or just an influencer in general has a big pull on how these restaurants act? Because at that point, really, what's the purpose of even having a sit-down restaurant? Just make a ghost kitchen. You can dress it how you want and then you can advertise it how you want. The only problem is you don't have nobody sitting, but really that's a good thing because the people sitting is your audience on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. But in my opinion, man, it's weird to see that this is the drama on the internet because this shouldn't be drama, you know what I'm saying? This should have just been an interaction between an influencer and restaurants, and it should have just went as normal, business as usual. But some influencers' perception have just altered people's minds, and they're trying to cater for them clicks. I know this like my 5th time saying that, but it's the only thing running in my mind right now because that's weird, man. I think the greatest example of this is when Keith's family ordered the food for him. He didn't even show up, and they still stayed until after close. He picked it up, and then they were surprised by him. Because these people didn't have to stay after this. These people didn't know his family. They only know him off of TikTok. And they still gave him great service, and they showed love to him. And he then showed love back. That's how you go about this, man. And honestly, doing it any other way makes you look hollow and selfish and only social media built. Because think about it. Say TikTok, say YouTube, say Twitter all go down. I'm praying they don't because that's where I really be at. But say those social medias all go down. The only thing that's gonna be tangible is that restaurant. And if you left a bad impression in people's mouth that you rude, that you don't do takeout orders, that you don't do delivery, you gotta show up 3 hours in advance, you gotta put an RSVP in, who the fuck is gonna like you or wanna eat at where you at? And now you broke because you was being too weird and being too bougie. And now as a whole, I don't think ATL is as bougie as people are trying to say it is. And even the people that are through Atlanta are saying it's bougie, I can't speak on that because I'm not from Atlanta. But being a tourist on the outside looking in, it's gonna look a lot nicer to me. But even then, I just tried to blend in. And when I did blend in, it seemed very normal to me. There was not anything weird or awkward or out of place. But then again, I went back in COVID times, so they were probably begging me to keep my mask on and give them my money. But I don't know, man. Just the simple fact of the hyper focus of trying to look the best in front of these influencers to make your business look good, it's just weird because as a kid, you just knew about the good restaurants by how they treated you before. The best social media you had was word of mouth. But in conclusion, man, the best thing I can say is just if you got goodies as a restaurant, you got goodies as a restaurant. You don't need Keith Lee to tell you that your restaurant is good. Just throw that motherfucker down in the kitchen and pick it back up because I don't like burnt shit. But if you like this rant, leave a like on the video, put your boy in the algorithm so everybody can see your boy, BasedDom. Yes, sir, man. Leave a comment. How do you feel about this Keith Lee situation? I'm assuming that everybody that's watching this video know about it. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a conversation about what's going on. And subscribe, man. I don't even know where the sub count at because y'all been killing it lately, man. Okay. But I appreciate everybody that's coming in, both new and old, because y'all make my dream as a content creator realer and realer every day. Influencer life on the way. But yeah, man, it's been BasedDom, people. Deuces.